So today I'd like to explore the topic of embracing our power, embracing power, and the fear that may accompany this process of stepping into power, empowerment. I really just want to talk about this and kind of see what flows forth. It's been a topic that's coming up here specifically through a TV show that I'm watching, actually, the Wheel of Time series. In this show, the main characters are all grappling with this process of discovering their abilities. And on one hand, it's so cool to discover that you have special abilities, special skills, special talents. But on the other hand, it's terrifying because it takes you out of the comfort and security of the world that you've known yourself to be in, and even the person that you thought you were is challenged and destroyed by these emerging abilities. So the characters really grapple with this beautifully in the show, and it shows how there's a tendency to want to cling to what's been known before, the comfort of certain relationships, the comfort of home, the comfort of the roles that they used to play and how they saw themselves. So it's not all just excitement about, wow, I have these new abilities. And many of the characters actively fight and repress their abilities. And this is just feeling so relevant to me in my experience right now. And it's so beautiful to watch the process of these characters reflected to me and seeing how this process of growth is not always an easy one. It's not painless. It's challenging to break out of the shells that we've created for ourselves and open to a new vision of who we are or who we could be or what our potential is. And one thing that was really shining forth in the show was that it's often the part of the person that they fear the most is actually where their power lies. The place that they've been most afraid to look and that they're most actively repressing in themselves is their power. It could be the place that we think is dark within us, our shortcoming or our failure. And when they are forced to look at these things, and sometimes it's brought about through meeting enemies, almost becoming more intimate with our enemies, because our enemies have these profound things to show us. It's so paradoxical that our power could be the very thing that actually kills us or destroys us, because if it's not skillfully handled, it can push us past the bounds of our own capabilities. And this is shown when one of the characters is almost like falling in love with the most dangerous enemy he could ever meet. The main character is forming like an intimate relationship with one of the Forsaken, who basically main job is to destroy him. Yet him getting so close to his enemy and then escaping from the destruction is probably the most potently empowering thing that could have happened to him. So you see, we actually, if we keep opening in ourselves past all the fear barriers, we start to meet these threshold points that actually could destroy us, because we meet the roots of our own darkness and our own limitation. And in those places, we have the choice to keep opening to the love and the light that we are, or to believe the false image about ourselves, which can spiral us into things like addiction, self-destruction, insanity even. You see this even in the spiritual marketplace if you're kind of linked in to it on YouTube or places, that there's certain characters that like rise really high seemingly in consciousness and then like crash and burn, because it is honestly to some extent a dangerous path to open into the truth of ourself if it's not grounded and balanced and tempered with wisdom and community and guidance and I mean, you see that there are risks in the journey. And this is what the show is also showing me. Also, one character who really sees himself as kind of like dark or broken or lacking very strongly in some ways, but seeing how that too is just part of his character structure, and it's actually what carries him exactly where he needs to be by the pattern, the underlying intelligence of life, because he is an important character in the story, and it is his darkness that actually defines him and drives him into places that no one else would go and places he has to go. So this idea of embracing all aspects of ourselves, because in a sense we did not create ourselves, so it's like a aspect of trust. Like, I trust that the way I am is how I'm supposed to be, you know, and learning that trust starts to encompass more and more of ourselves, including the parts of ourselves that we haven't been able to really look at or accept about ourselves, like our worst foibles and failures, because these are the places where the light really wants to get in and create new pathways of potentiality and really empower us as characters. Because any place where we feel that we are broken or deficient is the place that still binds us into limitation and lack. And it doesn't matter if we can like often just like look away from it and avoid it. It's still there until we sort of take full responsibility for it and allow it to be brought to the surface of our experience and resolved into the conscious intelligence that we are. Then we can integrate it into who we are, and it becomes like our greatest strength, actually, one of our greatest features. And in a way, I think we have to go through certain almost like rites of passage and initiations, you could say. And the hard thing about life is that we don't always know we're going through an initiation when it's happening. Like often in these fantasy stories, it's clear, you know. Also, we have this sort of outside perspective of the characters that makes it more clear. Whereas in our own life, we don't really have that distance or perspective. But we do, in hindsight, we can see, oh wow, that was a profound initiation that I was carried through. And then as we can see that in hindsight, we can learn to trust moment by moment. Okay, everything here is happening for my benefit. Everything here is happening for my empowerment if I can just learn to trust it and open to it and accept that it's part of a journey that's actually moving me towards the authenticity and the full conscious embodiment and empowerment of who I am and who I'm meant to be, Because in a way, we're all fated characters in our own story, and maybe it's not as exciting or adventurous as certain TV shows might be, but it's no less profound from a direct experiential point of view. And I mean, I think it's easy to land on kind of limited interpretations of what it means to be the hero of your own story, and perhaps just accepting that we don't really know what it means. But it does point to something very true of just completely accepting that how you are isn't wrong. It's just how you are. And it's important that you are the way you are, and to trust that it's going to carry you through the particular experiences and initiations that you need, and the service that you bring to the whole. In this Wheel of Time, they have a saying. They say, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. And it just means everything happens for a reason, and it's beyond our fathoming, really. But the characters that are in really influential positions are the ones that understand this the most deeply, because that is empowerment, when you trust that everything is happening for a reason, and it's not just lip service. It's like moment by moment, every step is an example of that. Everything happens exactly as it's supposed to. You can feel how that puts you in an empowered position, because you're not split, you're not divided within yourself. You're committed to who you are and what this is. You're not second guessing and doubting. You're not saying, oh, was that how it should have been? Oh, well, I don't like how that went. That's disempowering. You're saying the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. So everything is always perfect. That doesn't mean you're not willing to learn from mistakes. No, but you're not going to nitpick every moment as though you know better than reality itself, like that. And that is empowering, to live from that space. And you see, the other part I wanted to speak about with this is that empowerment also has to do with these initiations. This empowerment means destroying the idea of outside authority or outside power outside of you. And this is the initiation, like the way we use the symbols of authority to disempower ourselves. And that keeps us safe. It makes us feel safe. Like, well, I can't really do anything because there's all these powerful people outside me that stop me from being empowered. And that's safe, but it's disempowering. And you're doing it to yourself. I'm doing it to myself whenever I do that. It's not that a powerful person outside of me disempowers me. It's that my belief that they're doing that disempowers me. So we have to see that. I'm responsible for what I'm believing, because my beliefs create my experience. So this can be parents, teachers, politicians, police officers, the law, whatever it is that you use to say that power is outside of you. It could even be blaming your body, blaming your mental or emotional limitations, These are all ways that we disempower ourselves, rather than saying everything is as it's meant to be and it is perfect and I am aligned with it. That's empowerment. That's empowering. That belief system that's almost like not a belief. It's just being here now without critically dissecting the moment as though you know better. That's disempowering, because it calls everything into question, into doubt, into self-doubt. And the mind's gonna say, the fearful, egoic mind is gonna say, that's not safe. That's insanity. That's not how life works. But how do you know until you try, actually, right? We think we know. We think we know how we have to be. But it's actually arrogance to think that we know better than life. It's pure arrogance. We don't know. The wheel weaves as the wheel wills, and it's far vaster and more intelligent than our separate mind can ever comprehend. And so losing these authority symbols outside of ourselves is like a maturation process. We see, okay, I'm not limited because of my parents. Take that one away. I'm not limited because of politicians outside of me. Take that one away. Eventually you're left with just yourself. How do you want to live? And there's nothing actually stopping you. Everything is working for you. It doesn't mean there's not initiations, challenges, but those challenges are here to serve your evolution, not to stop you, not to keep you small. No, each one will be an empowering as we open to it and allow it to unfold through us. We graduate from that one. Boom. We're on the next level. Every one we're going through, process by process, we're becoming like samurais, warriors, whatever it is. I mean, we all have a different path. It's going to be one that resonates with your nature. So it's going to use symbols that resonate with you. Maybe it's more like devotional, bhakti, service-oriented. Who knows what it is for you? You know. That's right. You know. I don't know. But it's going to be inspiring to your soul, because your soul came here to have this experience. And that's empowering, to trust that we're in a school, a profound, multi-dimensional playground of learning that we can never get any perspective on other than just living it directly. And of course, that's the scariest thing for the mind that has taught itself it's separate from everything else, because that's death now, death in this moment to what is. But that's when we start up leveling. That's as we get empowered with this play that's here to serve us, actually, even though it looks like challenges and it looks like struggle and it looks like conflict even. Each conflict is here to level us up as we learn to meet it with skill and grace and honor and from the heart, and we don't shirk it and dodge it and try to get away from it. I mean, all of these lessons will wait for us until we're ready. We can hide from them, but we're hiding from our own power, which is really what we want, what our heart wants. And really, there's nothing to lose either. That's all part of the initiation process. You begin to see that fear itself is illusion, because there's nothing to protect. We're here to learn and to grow and to actually give all of ourselves into this experience. And you know, this message is here to inspire, and it's to inspire myself too, because I live in this fearful place quite often, you know, and we all do. And part of the empowerment is actually accepting that part of us too, with compassion to this part that wants to be weak, that wants to be fearful, that finds safety in that. We don't get through that by judging it or condemning it. No, we're empowered by including that part too, right? That's like the maturity to be our own loving parent in a way. No one else is going to do it for us. That's the empowerment. No one's going to save us from our own limitation. We have to gracefully include that into us and allow it to grow lovingly within us and mature and learn just simply by being with what is. So yeah, that's what I wanted to explore today, and I just thank you for joining me here. And it's been a little while since I've done one of these, so that was fun. It had a really good flow to it, I feel like. So thank you so much, and I look forward to connecting with you again. Bye-bye.